Good morning. I had incredibly high expectations for today. I always say this, never go to a location with expectations because you just don't know what's going to happen. Now, the reason I had high expectations is because I spent a long time researching this location, checking the weather reports, sunrise, etc, etc. My expectation was that I was going to arrive last night, it was going to be clear, the rain was going to have passed, I was going to go to the beach, get a sunset shot, then I was going to camp, get up early for sunrise. It was again going to be clear, head down to the beach, get a nice sunrise, long exposure. It was going to be fantastic. The reality, I arrived last night, it was raining. I decided instead to just go and set up camp. It took me 2 hours in the rain to set up camp. I woke up this morning at about 4. I put on some damp socks. I say damp, they were wet. I arrived and it's overcast. Yeah, it could be worse because this is what I'm currently looking at. So the concept of the image I have in mind is pretty simple. We've got these awesome jagged rocks jutting out into the sea. We have rocks that we could use in the foreground, and we have the sea. So therefore long exposure because they're so much fun. Let's go and have a wander. I'm going to use these rocks in the foreground to lead you through the image to the jagged outcrop. I'm going to use the waves crashing to bring a little bit of a movement to the frame. I'm struggling a bit with this composition. There's too much, there's too many rocks. I don't know which rock to focus on. I want to get the jagged stuff in the background. We don't see much of that jagged coastline around our end, so it's always exciting to see. So the composition I have in mind is there are like 5 rocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that take you around the image and out to sea. And I want to get some waves in the background, and I like the waves crashing around the rocks in the foreground. The long exposure makes it look kind of cool. Okay, I guess just shoot until I see one that I like. Time to pull out the neutral density filter. A neutral density filter is essentially a very dark piece of glass that goes on front of the lens, which reduces the amount of light that can come in, and it essentially allows you to get a really long exposure in sort of daylight conditions. So they're always fun to play around with. I think you've got to be careful when you use them. I think they're very easy to overuse, but they're super fun to use. So it's not often I get it out and play around on the coastline, so why not, right? So as you can see, when you're doing a long exposure, you have to be careful because you might end up just removing all the detail, which you might want actually. You see those shots of the pier out into the lake with a completely flat, milky, cloudy water, and you might want that. They usually make quite nice, like high contrast black and white images with like oily black and silky white. I prefer the image with a bit of detail in all of the sea foam. It makes for a more dramatic image. So I just pulled over at the side of the road because there's these 4 trees in this misty field opposite me, and I think it's going to make a nice atmospheric image. There are some cows grazing in the field, and I think if I'm patient they will enter the frame and become part of the composition, and I think that will be quite nice. So I'm going to wait here for a little bit. It's very misty, which is quite atmospheric. So here we are, the grand finale, the Valley of Rocks. I mean, the whole thing is a Valley of Rocks, but this specifically is the Valley of Rocks. You can tell that it's the Valley of Rocks, because what we're currently in is a valley, and there are lots and lots of rocks around. So I'm sorry, that was terrible. That was terrible. If my wife was here, she'd be like off in the distance, like I can't be seen with you. There's lots of goats as well, so I guess you could also call this the Valley of Goats, if one so desired. But yeah, I'm going to go and see if I can shoot something atmospheric and rocky and valley and goaty, and then I'm going to go home because my feet are soaking wet. So I was just doing some contrived shot of me, you know, pretending to be out on a stroll as I set my camera up, walk away, and then walk back to the camera. And I actually really like the shot. I think I'm going to take an image of this. So the idea is that you have these 2 foreground rocks, and then you have the road leading you through the frame, and you have this big jagged peak rock in the middle, and then you've got a tree on the right that's silhouetted against the sea. I think that it makes for a really nice image, and I think the colour tones will look good as well. So just amazing what you can stumble upon. Starting to get a bit ominous and gloomy. I think it's going to rain soon, but I had to grab this scene before I leave. Look at this, it's gorgeous. You got these muted green tones of the cliff, and then you've got these big jagged cliff faces. So quite a spectacle. And it's just me and the goats. Always the benefit of getting up at a stupid hour. Stunning. spoilt for choice now with compositions. There's just so much. I think this is going to be my last shot before I head home. This is quite a nice one. So there's some yellow flowers in the foreground, and then a path that leads you up the mountain with, you know, various points of interest along the way. A nice jagged rock, a tree, the ridge, some goats. Despite the fact that the weather wasn't perfect, I take that back actually. There isn't really such a thing as perfect weather, because you never know how the scene is going to be affected by the weather. I've really enjoyed the Valley of Rocks. I will for sure be coming back here at some point in the future. I feel like I haven't captured everything that this place has to offer. If you've enjoyed this video, please go ahead and hit that like button. It really means a lot. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, I upload a new one every week. And you can go ahead and hit subscribe if you like. Look at all these goats. I hope I don't get butted. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a nice day.